I don't think people know how to relax anymore. Not really. People know how to distract themselves. They know how to scroll. They know how to keep themselves busy long enough to avoid silence. But actual relaxation feels different. And I think a lot of people forgot what that feeling even used to be. Because now even rest has started feeling like stimulation. You sit down after a long day and immediately reach for your phone. Not because something important happened. Not because you're excited. Just because your brain doesn't know what to do with empty space anymore. And the strange part is most people don't even notice it happening. They'll say they're exhausted, mentally drained, burned out for no clear reason. But then they spend 4 straight hours switching between apps without ever fully paying attention to anything. A video, a text, half a song, a notification, another video, a random argument online, somebody else's vacation pictures, a podcast playing in the background while checking comments on another screen. The brain never actually lands anywhere. It just keeps moving, and eventually that constant movement starts feeling normal. I think modern life quietly trained people to confuse stimulation with recovery. That's why so many people finish their day feeling strangely tired, even when they technically rested the whole evening. Because the nervous system never really slowed down. It just changed activities. And honestly, you can feel this everywhere now. People can't watch movies without checking their phones halfway through. Songs become background noise after 30 seconds. Conversations lose momentum the moment there's a pause. Even relaxing has become performance-based somehow. People optimize their sleep, track their habits, watch productivity videos while eating dinner, turn self-care into another task to complete correctly. Nothing feels passive anymore. Everything feels slightly monitored, slightly accelerated. And I don't even think this happened because people are lazy or weak or addicted in some dramatic way. I think the environment itself became mentally loud. There's always something demanding your attention now. Even when nobody's talking to you, something is still pulling at your brain. A recommendation, an algorithm, a headline, a notification bubble, an unread message, a video that autoplays before you even decide to watch it. Your attention rarely belongs fully to you anymore. And after enough years of living like that, silence starts feeling uncomfortable. Not peaceful, uncomfortable. That's the weird part nobody talks about. A lot of people say they want peace, but the second things become quiet, they immediately reach for stimulation again. Because stillness almost feels unnatural now. Like something is missing. You can even see it in tiny moments. People standing in line can't just stand there anymore. They instantly pull out their phone. People waiting at red lights check notifications they already checked 2 minutes ago. Some people can't even walk through a grocery store without headphones, playing something constantly into their ears. It's like the brain developed a fear of being alone with itself. And honestly, maybe that makes sense, because being alone with your thoughts today feels very different than it used to. Modern life overloads people all day long, but at the same time leaves them emotionally disconnected from themselves. So when the noise disappears, everything underneath it suddenly becomes noticeable again. Stress, loneliness, confusion, uncertainty, emotional exhaustion. A lot of distraction isn't even about entertainment anymore. It's avoidance. Not in some dramatic life crisis way either. Just small constant avoidance. Avoiding boredom. Avoiding uncomfortable thoughts. Avoiding that weird empty feeling people get when nothing is happening. And the internet became unbelievably good at helping people avoid those feelings forever. There's always another thing to consume. Another opinion. Another video essay. Another trend. Another piece of drama. Another rabbit hole to disappear into at 1:30 in the morning for absolutely no reason. You can spend entire days mentally occupied without emotionally processing anything. And I think that's happening to more people than anyone realizes. Because people still look functional. They still go to work, reply to messages, make jokes, post pictures, show up socially. But internally, a lot of people feel permanently overstimulated, like their brain never fully powers down. You hear it when people say things like, "I can't focus anymore. I can't enjoy anything lately. I feel tired even after doing nothing." And I don't think it's always depression, or laziness, or lack of discipline. Sometimes the brain is just exhausted from constant input. There's this strange modern habit where people wake up, and immediately flood their mind with information before they even fully exist for the day. News, texts, social media, emails, videos. No transition period, no silence, no mental space. The brain goes from unconsciousness to overstimulation in under 60 seconds. And then people wonder why they feel anxious all the time. Even nighttime stop feeling calm. Remember when evenings used to actually feel slow? Now nights feel like an extension of the internet. People lie in bed scrolling until their eyes hurt, watching strangers talk, reading things they'll forget tomorrow, absorbing hundreds of emotions that don't even belong to them. And eventually sleep becomes less like rest and more like a temporary shutdown before doing it all again. I think a lot of people miss boredom without realizing they miss it. Not because boredom itself was enjoyable, but because boredom created space. Space to think, space to notice things, space to feel present somewhere. Now every empty second gets filled immediately. And because of that, life starts blending together. Days feel shorter, weeks disappear faster, memories become harder to separate from each other. Everything turns into one long stream of content and stimulation. Even experiences themselves don't fully land anymore. People go to concerts and record half the night, travel somewhere beautiful and spend more time documenting it than absorbing it, eat dinner while watching videos, watch shows while texting somebody else. Attention is constantly divided, and when attention becomes fragmented long enough, experience itself starts feeling weaker. That's probably why so many people describe life as feeling unreal lately, because mentally, they're barely fully inside moments anymore. Part of them is always somewhere else, waiting for the next thing, and social media amplified this feeling in a really subtle way. It trained people to consume emotional intensity constantly, every few seconds. Something funny, something tragic, something attractive, something shocking, something emotional, something designed to trigger reaction. The nervous system stays active for hours without rest, and eventually calmness starts feeling dull compared to that level of stimulation, which is dangerous in a quiet way, because real life is slower than the internet. Real relationships are slower. Real happiness is quieter. Real peace is less exciting. But if your brain gets conditioned to constant emotional spikes, normal life starts feeling emotionally flat by comparison. Not because life became empty, but because the brain adapted to intensity. I think that's part of why people struggle to relax now. Relaxation requires slowness, and slowness feels unfamiliar to a brain trained by constant stimulation. You can actually see people fighting against rest in real time. They'll sit down to relax and instantly feel the urge to check something, anything, just to feel mentally engaged again. Because silence now creates this strange, restless feeling people don't know how to sit with anymore. And honestly, the scary part is how normal this became. Nobody really questions it. Being mentally overloaded all the time is almost expected now. People joke about fried attention spans, about doom scrolling until 3 a.m., about never being able to focus. But underneath the jokes, there's real exhaustion there. A quiet kind, the kind that builds slowly over years. And the thing is, nothing about this feels dramatic while it's happening. That's why it's hard to notice. Nobody wakes up one day unable to relax. It happens gradually. The brain just gets more used to noise, more dependent on stimulation, more uncomfortable with stillness, until eventually silence starts feeling empty instead of peaceful. And maybe that's why so many people feel disconnected lately. Not because they're constantly doing nothing, but because their mind almost never fully stops moving, even during rest, even during quiet moments, even late at night when everything is finally still. There's usually still a screen glowing somewhere nearby, still another thought entering the brain, still another distraction waiting, still another layer of noise. And after enough time, people stop noticing how unnatural that actually is. It just becomes life, a constant stream of input, a constant low-level mental tension, a constant need to feel occupied by something. Not because people consciously chose it, but because slowly, over time, being overstimulated started feeling normal, and actual relaxation started feeling unfamiliar. That's the part people miss. Nothing dramatic changed overnight. People just slowly lost their ability to be at peace in silence. Not because silence disappeared, but because the world became too loud for people to remember what silence was supposed to feel like. And eventually, they stopped realizing it was missing at all.